The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill. A breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help. Just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The human voice. It can be sweet as music, powerful as thunder,
and so, my fellow Americans,
cheerful as laughter. But for millions of people, it can also be a sign of COPD. This serious lung disease can make it so hard to breathe, you often can't catch a breath or finish a sentence, let alone carry a tune. And many who have COPD don't even know it. That's where your voice comes in. If you think you or a loved one have symptoms, talk with a healthcare provider. Early diagnosis can mean better treatments and quality of life. Join us in raising our voices for the millions with COPD who can't. Learn more, breathe better at NIH.gov.
1, 2, 3, 4. As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
It's a huge burden lifted financially, and so it allows you to give singular focus to your child. I've never known a hospital that takes care of their patients so thoroughly.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When they told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow. They pretty much have saved us.
It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, and now your focus is supporting this child.
There is not another hospital like St. Jude. The patient care is unmatchable. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
You don't have to be, it's okay to be a newbie. It's okay to be a newbie. So welcome to Friday. Yes, indeed. Here it is, September number 15 in the year of our Lord 2017. Halfway through the month of September already. Call-in number 603-835-3226. That is the call-in hotline number. Well, where we will today discuss just about anything on your mind. Doesn't have to be only what I'm interested in. Could be anything. Even the news about NASA, killing off their robot machine up there in Saturn. If you're interested in NASA stuff, that's great. If you're interested in stuff that you watch on YouTube, that's also great. I have no problem with any of that stuff. What's on Twitter? There's bunches of stuff on Twitter. Twitter is just, it's become pretty much, it's become a cesspool of the liberal left. And of course, if you like coffee, make sure that you grab yourself a cup of coffee for the program. Cup an hour, that's good. That's a good rate to go. This program is a 1 cup per hour show. We get great mileage out of coffee here. Well, we do. With all of this said, there's still stuff about the hurricanes. I guess, now they're worried about, was it Hurricane Jose? Tropical Storm Jose? In any case. Now that 2 major hurricanes have hit the United States, and it's the first time in 12 years, the media is all aflutter. I mean, they got stories out there. There are no living human beings for the first time in 300 years on Barbuda. Okay, so we're supposed to feel really bad and sorry about that? Yeah, we can feel bad about it. Because let's face it, wherever there's land, human beings nowadays, because, there's 7.5 billion of us on the planet, we think we got to live. There's this program on, I don't like it. It's on Netflix, and it's about the world's greatest hotels. And they've got these Indian spokesperson, Indian model from India. She's traveling on holiday all around the world to these great, supposedly great hotels. Now, in at least half the locations, I never even heard of these places. Not just because I never heard of them doesn't mean that they're not good places. But I mean, places off the eastern coast of Africa, which is south in the Indian Ocean, and islands. Places in the Caribbean that I never even heard. Now, I've heard of the Maldives and Barbuda and Bermuda and all those places. Well, Bermuda's not in the Caribbean, but you get the idea. But there are other places that I'd never heard of. Well, they're part of the Antilles and such. Chains of different island chains that are down there in the Caribbean. So okay, but this is where all these infamous world's best hotels are, in the Southeast Pacific. I would never even have thought to go to places like that to vacation, but okay. So the problem is, they talk about paradise. Well, isn't it true that from the leftist standpoint that paradise is where people are not? So if Barbuda was a paradise, is it not better off not having humans on it? I'm just asking, thinking out loud in a leftist terms, is it not better? I mean, is there any life on Barbuda except for plant life? I don't think there was any animal life on Barbuda before man got there. So it was just nature, maybe insects. I don't know the history of Barbuda, and honestly, I don't really care about the history of Barbuda. But evidently all the human beings who lived on Barbuda have been evacuated, and for the first time in some 300 years, Barbuda is humanless. The only life on Barbuda is plant life. Well, I mean, it can only be plant life because it can, what they're saying on the left, there's nothing could have survived. So there can't even be any insects on Barbuda. That has nothing to do with man. Mother Nature killed off all the insects on Barbuda, evidently. Man can't kill off anything, but Mother Nature can. Oh, but we'll get blamed for it, I'm sure. Mankind will get blamed for the intensity of a Category 5 hurricane, because after all, we've never had Category 5 hurricanes on this planet ever before man, and we've never had Category 5 before the Industrial Revolution. All this came about because of man's activity. That's the only way we're going to get Category, and we're going to have to invent a new category, Category 6. Yeah, we're going to have to invent a Category 6 because these storms are just getting that intense and we need to properly measure them. And Category 6 is coming up. All the while we got, we've seen through historical documentation that we've had some very powerful hurricanes that have plowed through this part of the world in the past. Native Americans talk about it in their historical records. We've seen it in recent, over the past 150 years when we started keeping records. Not to mention those things called typhoons out there in the Pacific, which tend to be more powerful than, as far as wind and size is concerned, actually taking up space on the planet. They tend to be bigger and more powerful than hurricanes. All we seem to do is focus on hurricanes. I just find it fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Any case, we've got a ton to cover here on this Friday. The paper pile is heavy. There is, well, let's just go down. Let's try to see if we can clean up some of the stuff in the paper pile. But do you know what it's like to be smeared by the Southern Poverty Law Center? Well, the Wall Street Journal has a piece that lets you know a paid professional price was paid by Carol M. Swain, the author of the piece. She said, I paid a professional price when the group attacked me in 2009. Now I wear its mud as a badge of honor. Richard Cohen, president of the Southern Poverty Law Center, who was to testify before the Homeland Security Committee earlier this week about threats posed to domestic extremist groups, it's been postponed because of Hurricane Irma. Now, Carol M. Swain is a black conservative. And she, like many black conservatives, have been smeared in the past and in the recent past and in the distant past by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Because if you were just to look at the title of this organization, Southern, they're Southern Democrats. Now, what were Southern Democrats? Southern Democrats were slave-holding, slave-owning, slavery-believing people. Now, remember that in the South, back in the day, not everybody had a slave or two. But most folks in the South back in the day believed in slavery, even if they didn't own a slave. It's kind of one of those things, someday they dreamed of being wealthy enough to own a slave. People today, they dream to be wealthy enough to buy that 5,000 square foot house or that Mercedes, that big Mercedes Benz or the big Beamer. Well, back then, it was to be rich enough, to be wealthy enough to have your own slave. People today, if you're talking about servants, what are people? Often people would like to be wealthy enough to have, at least a butler, a houseman, maybe a pool boy. Well, for certain groups, people, they want a pool boy or pool girl. Back then, 160 to 200 years ago, the big thing was, am I wealthy enough to have a slave? Can I afford? Because, frankly, even though slaves were really treated, for the most part, pretty damn poorly back then, it still wasn't exactly cheap to own a bunch of slaves. Because, you had to, you didn't have to educate them, only to a certain degree. They had to be smart enough to be able to do the job that you wanted them to do. So you had to educate and train them into doing the job that you wanted them to do. But you had to house them, you had to feed them, you had to clothe them. And if they were house slaves, the good old house N-word, well, they had to have nice clothing. Because they were often seen by other people. Because they were the cook or the butler or something, people often saw them, or the maid. So if you were a house N-word, you had to be dressed properly. If you were a field N-word, and any old rags will do, but you still had to have them. And of course, you still had to feed them and house them. It wasn't exactly a cheap proposition. Sure, it was a hell of a lot cheaper than actually paying them a real living wage back in the day. I notice you don't hear Democrats talking about slaves being paid a living wage. It's just burger flippers today need a living wage of $15 an hour. But in any case, so the Southern Poverty Law Center is all about, it's in their title, they're all about slavery. They're about establishing and keeping and maintaining the status quo as it was. Not as they tell you that it should be, because after all, these people they don't put their money where their mouth is. What did they do? Last year, their last filing, we know that they spent less than $100,000 on legal fees, helping poor people get the legal counseling and legal advice that they needed. when they've got millions of dollars sheltered overseas? But they're a nonprofit organization, so why do they need to shelter money? Can somebody answer that question? Why does the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a nonprofit organization, meaning that they're pretty much tax exempt just about on everything that they do and all the money that they earn, why do they need tax shelters in the Caribbean? Why do they need to invest offshore? We're talking $300 million plus here. Why do they need to hide or shelter money offshore? Especially after, they've faulted some wealthy Americans like Mitt Romney for doing just that, for sheltering some of their vast wealth offshore. So why does the Southern Poverty Law Center need to do that? And then spend less than $100,000 on legal fees. But come out with all these wonderful maps, these so-called hate maps about these hate groups, and then smear other people, especially black people, who rightfully take their place among other historical blacks who are Republican, not Democrat. Like Frederick Douglass. Can I ask, does the Southern Poverty Law Center, do they hate Frederick Douglass? Just wondering.
You're listening to me, your lovable host, L. Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
And now a message from our sponsor. Ladies, tired of drying your hair with the same old vacuum cleaner? Try Avon Shea brand new Beauty Locks portable hair dryer. It's smaller, it's faster, it's guaranteed to give you the hair you've always wanted in half the time. Beauty Locks is delicate and dainty, just like you. The dryer weighs only a pound and easily fits in your hand. Now that's beauty and convenience. With a speedy motor that will dry your hair in as little as 25 minutes, you can get gorgeous hair without falling behind schedule. Don't worry about the little ones or that pie in the oven. Thanks to an extra-long extension cord, you can move around well, primping your locks. Forget those long trips to the salon and no more waiting for hours under monster machines. Avon Shea gives you an easy and speedy hairdo that will blow your man away. Get it now at your nearest Macy's.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show. Let truth be told.
603-835-3226. That is the call-in hotline number this Friday morning here on the Rod Eccles Show. Hey, here's some follow-up news for Bitcoin that I brought you earlier this week. Bitcoin crashes after Chinese exchange said it will halt trading. Price decline extends for a fifth day amid Chinese actions. BTC China says Bitcoin China says decision following outlawing of coin offerings. And it's kind of a misnomer because there are no actual. I know sometimes you see pictures of people talking about Bitcoin and they actually have a coin. It's a digital currency. There are no actual coins. There is no physical money. But Bitcoin fell for a fifth day, the longest losing streak in more than a year, after one of China's largest online exchanges said it would stop handling trades by the end of the month, and amid a government crackdown on cryptocurrencies. And now Bitcoin was once heralded as this way of getting around government fiat currency, like, paper dollars and things like that. The problem is that governments still have the ability to make things like Bitcoin illegal, and thus make it pretty much worthless. Governments have the ability to shut down alternative currencies and alternative. They were trying to really get a hold here in the USA, especially in New England. Massachusetts had a trading group where you could trade goods and services instead of money. And the state of Massachusetts the Commonwealth of Massachusetts was trying to figure out how to apply sales and income taxes to bartering. Now, I don't know if they actually came up with laws and legislation to figure that out, but if you're bartering, without outlawing bartering, a system of bartering, what's the fastest way to kill bartering? Tax it. Well, you're not using any money. So what if you don't have money? You don't have physical currency. So in other words, you got a bushel of corn, and you take your bushel of corn that you've grown, and you want you want chicken. If you take your bushel of corn is equal to, say, 5 chickens. Well, Massachusetts said that the corn and the chickens are worth money, and that one, it's your income, so now you got to pay income taxes on the corn and the chicken, and two, the interchange or the exchanging of value is like buying and selling, so you need to pay sales. Somebody's got to pay sales tax on that exchange. That's what they were trying to get at. This is how you kill alternative currencies. All government has to do is just either tax it or make the currency illegal. It's kind of forcing people to use the fiat currency. And this whole thing with Bitcoin is no different. It's no different. So I never got on the Bitcoin bandwagon, by the way. But hey, if you like to barter, now I've never tried bartering. I guess in a way, I've haggled over prices, and I guess that's a form of bartering. But I've never really professionally, I guess if you want to use those terms, bartered anything. We've all done it, I suppose. Here, I'll trade you this candy bar for that candy bar or something. After Halloween especially, I'll give you 2 Snickers for a Reese's or something. We've done stuff like that, meaningless. But I've never really bartered before. So I don't look at people. If that's the way people want to, this is the way we used to live. It's the way we used to exchange for goods and services that we needed, that we didn't have. And now you have government that's trying to stop it. Why? Because they're not getting a piece of the pie. Bitcoin. How is the government going to tax Bitcoin? Unless, they would have to embrace the alternate currency and start buying stuff on alternate currency, right? They're not going to do that. Absolutely not. They have no control over that.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We've got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and practice an escape plan for you and your loved ones. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
Have you mixed your pain meds, your sleep meds, your allergy meds? Call the Poison Helpline. Has your child eaten a tube of toothpaste, a chip of paint, a wild mushroom? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you been bitten by a spider, a snake, an insect? Call the Poison Helpline. Poisonings can happen at the home, on the job, or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I'm Hilary Duff. As a mom, I'm proud to support the March of Dimes in helping more women have full-term pregnancies and healthy babies. That's why I walk in March for Babies. The money we raise funds research and local programs that help babies overcome the challenges of premature birth and birth defects. Sign up today at marchforbabies.org. Together, we can help make healthier babies possible for thousands of families.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. Go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine. We understand what makes this cancer tick. And of course, without donors from around the world, this just couldn't happen. There's one thing we're focused on, and that's beating this thing.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
America's wounded warriors are coming home. After serving on foreign shores, these brave men and women are returning to their families and communities. Many have wounds you can see, and many have wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Now that these warriors are back home, they are ready to enter the civilian workforce. To help, Wounded Warrior Project has developed the Warriors to Work program, a career counseling service that helps warriors translate their military experience to the civilian workplace. These extraordinary men and women bring proven world-class job skills and a unique perspective on teamwork to the job. And to ensure the right warrior finds the right job, Wounded Warrior Project works with employers to find just the right match. When you hire a wounded warrior, you hire an intelligent, talented, and committed new employee. Contact Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
going to stick with this Bitcoin thing for a little bit, at the risk of fully and totally and completely exposing my ignorance over this alternative currency. As I have said before, there's a difference between ignorance and stupidity. I'm willing to learn. I would love to learn, but there are so many questions about it. I mean, when this thing was first hitting the streets here, and people were, I remember sitting in my favorite cigar lounge. I was having a wonderful cigar with a couple of friends and drinking some great scotch new scotch that they had just gotten in. I think it was a Glenfiddich type of thing. It was awesome stuff. But this guy, he starts talking about Bitcoin and about Bitcoin mining and all this kind of stuff. And I'm looking at him thinking like he's got two heads. What the hell are you talking about? Did you now understand this about Bitcoin? There's something called Bitcoin mining, where you would have to have a computer that you would set up this computer, this software and hardware, and it would always be on. And it would be like if you were, say, Visa or MasterCard, and you got a piece of every transaction because you're Visa or MasterCard. But you really wouldn't be Visa or MasterCard. You'd be more like your bank that also gets a small piece of it. Or, better yet, you would be like the illegal stuff where people skim the fractional pennies, fractional cents off of all the transactions that happen. And they've made a couple of movies about this. Yeah, we're only going to have a few $1,000s or something like that, and it turns out by the end of the week they've got like $15 million. Well, that was Bitcoin mining. Now, I didn't fully get it and think about how that was going to be legal. But then there were other questions too, because in the same bar, the same cigar bar, there were other people, and they were trying to convince me at the time that the fair tax is the way to go. Now, I'm putting the two and two together here. Now, the fair tax is nothing more than a, sales tax. So how do you tax something that isn't a real currency? Well, Bitcoin isn't a real currency. It's not physical. Bartering, there's no currency exchange in bartering. So how does the fair tax fit in with things like Bitcoin and bartering? I don't know. I don't know. Massachusetts was trying to figure that out with bartering. How do you charge sales and income tax on bartering? I mean, because are you going to run around and charge every farmer? I mean, think about this for a second. You want income tax off of a bartering system, so that means when a farmer grows his corn and grows his beans and whatever else a farmer grows, cranberries, that you're somehow going to attach a dollar value and increase and charge them income tax? Well, they would have to actually sell it for real money in order to pay the income tax, right? Because government isn't going to take actual corn or cranberries as payment. What are they going to? Besides, government doesn't know how to handle it. Half of the stuff would rot by the time they got around to selling it and getting money off of it. So they're not going to accept that as payment. So how do you do that? How do you deal with this alternative society that is starting to build momentum all over the world, actually, not just this country? Old-fashioned systems of economies are starting to come back. Now they're not blazing new trails. I mean, let's be frank about that. Let's be honest. They're not. It's not the hot new thing, because actually, if it were, our government would move to somehow either regulate it or block it. Look, with Bitcoin, they did that. The state of New York, they overregulated it, so that a lot of Bitcoin operations actually that were in New York City had to move out of New York City because New York State decided to overregulate Bitcoin operations. So the government can do that. So I don't, it's. How do you get past? Well, I mean, I know a lot of people are trying to look past the government fiat currency, as they call it, paper money that's not backed by anything, which is why a lot of people buy platinum and gold and silver and copper, both coins and bars. I know people who buy gold. Well, I've got coins. I buy coin. I've even saved whenever I come across a real silver or silver coin, silver quarter or dime, I save it. Or if I come across a real copper penny, I save it. I set it aside because, it's for copper pennies, it really depends on the price of the precious metal. But right now, a copper penny is worth more than a penny. So you sort of set it aside, you save it. And I do believe that silver $50 and silver quarters, the silver content of those is worth more than the actual face value of the coin. So people set that aside. Dimes are so thin and small. I save it. It's hard to tell with a dime. There are people that have this, they think that the alternative economy is going to come and it's going to be based on precious metals. Now, that may be precious metals and gems and all that kind of stuff, but are we creating, now understand this, folks. Do people, and most people do not realize this, that diamonds only became worth money sometime in the 20th century when the families, the De Beer family and a couple of other families got together and said, these are the hardest things on the planet. They're great for industrial, but how about if we start grading these things and doing this thing called grading and finding a way to cut them and shine them up? Diamonds were thought at one point to be kind of like lobsters. Diamonds at one point were thought to be industrial only junk rock, junk jewels. And then they decided, well, we're going to corner the market and try to make these things worth money. And even today, now notice, we don't use up diamonds. People have diamond rings and diamond earrings and brooches and diamond this and diamond necklace, but they keep introducing more diamonds to the market when there's already a ton of diamonds on the market. And yet it doesn't lose its value. How does that happen? Because we know that the reason why things have value is because of its so-called scarcity or rarity. But if you flood the market with diamonds, now gold is still rare based on the number of people on the planet and how it's being used, but that's not the case with diamonds. Gold is actually hard to find. The only way that they make diamonds more rare is by changing what they call their clarity or color, or by limiting the mining. That's how they make diamonds more rare, but diamonds really aren't rare. And then all of a sudden now we've got stuff called chocolate diamonds. Anybody fall for that garbage? Now these were off-colored diamonds that were, basically that used versus the clear cut diamonds. The brown diamonds were called dirty diamonds, and they were used for industrialized machinery and stuff like that, industry. And then the Beer family decided, you know what? Why don't we change how this works? We're going to call it a chocolate diamond. So we can make things have value at a whim. Can we not? If 100 years ago diamonds were pretty worthless, but all of a sudden now they're one of the most valuable gems on the planet, and they're not all that rare. So it's not even based on rarity or scarcity. Gold, and silver and platinum based on rarity and scarcity, because they're not easy to come by. It's not easy to find. Diamonds there were times in Africa where diamonds were actually laying on top of the ground. People would just go and pick them up. I don't know. I'm not a currency expert, but I do know, and I do understand manipulation when I see it. And I try not to fall for that stuff. Somebody talks about diamond this and diamond that. I'm like, yeah, big deal. Diamonds don't hold a whole hell of a lot of value for me. Why? Because it has false value. It really does. I know you're probably not going to convince most women of that. I want a diamond ring and a diamond this and diamond that. Yeah. Diamonds are a girl's best friend, but they haven't always been a girl's best friend. I mean, it used to be that emeralds and sapphires and rubies were a girl's best friend, not diamonds. Just go back in time a little bit and you'll see what I'm talking about. You don't see a lot of royalty with their crowns encrusted in diamonds, do you? No, it's always like rubies and emeralds and sapphires and other kind of gems, but not diamonds. Because diamonds are always thought of as being junk. It's a junk rock. Not to mention it was very hard to cut, but it was a junk rock. It was utilitarian. It wasn't supposed to be pretty. But in any case, there you have it with Bitcoin. I don't. If you like Bitcoin, fine. Go ahead and I'm not disparaging anybody for liking Bitcoin. I just don't fully understand it, and it is too vulnerable to government overregulation and just all out banning, just like China is just about to do. Speaking of China, by the way. China will set a deadline for automakers to end sales of fossil fuel-powered vehicles. They're set to become the biggest market to do so in a move that will accelerate the push into electric car market led by other companies, like Tesla Motors. Well, I think China's going to find out that all those wonderful electric cars have got to be charged somehow. Where do you think we're getting electricity from, people? Still, the vast majority of our electricity comes from fossil fuels. And then it comes from nuclear power, especially in Europe. So they're going to talk about, but here's the catch. Because people, China's going to eliminate, you won't be able to buy a car that runs on gas, but it'll end up being all these wonderful places because they're not actually banning the internal combustion engine. So they're going to end up like Cuba. So let's face it, you're going to end up with a 2057 Chevy. And in the year 2100, everybody's going to be still driving a 2057 Chevy. Just like today in Cuba. Everybody, they got their most modern vehicle basically pretty much is a 1957 Chevy. And here it is 2017. And they're still driving 1957 Chevys. So in the year 2057, the last Chevy will roll off the line, and then 2117 they'll be driving 2057 Chevys. You get the gist here. But that's also part of the problem because most of these places are talking about banning the internal combustion engine, the sale of new internal combustion engine vehicles. It's not going to happen until sometime well after the year 2040. Now, 2040 is really not that far off. I mean, what are we, like 23 years away? But and if you go to 2050, it's a little bit farther out, but still, it's not that far out in terms of time and years. I get that. But it's still pretty far out. And if we don't have any viable alternative energy source by then, it's easy to repeal. It's not like saying next year we're going to stop the sale of internal combustion engine vehicles. No. Yeah, we're going to do it 30 years from now. But we're going to have to make a push for some sort of alternative. And what if the alternative energy that we come up with is still an internal combustion engine? Well, they're saying all we're going to do is ban gasoline and diesel. So that leaves room in case, you want to burn hydrogen and turn the hydrogen into H2O. Possible. But that's still going to take energy. it takes energy to make energy. In other words, it takes energy. It takes chemicals and electricity to make, and other fossil fuels to make gasoline and diesel. Well, it takes fossil fuels to make electricity. Well, we can do it with solar. We can do it with wind. We don't have enough of it. We can't put up enough. Can you imagine how many windmills this planet would have to have in order to meet its needs and totally get rid of fossil fuel power plants? I mean, every single family house, every household, every building would have to have, on its property, a windmill per family. So windmill per family. So if you had like say a four unit apartment building, you need to have 4 windmills. Well, how are you going to do that in these high-rise towers where there are 300 units plus? You're going to put 300 windmills on the roof? That's not going to work. We can't make enough of these things. We can't. We already have. Well, I already have people screaming about windmills killing birds and stuff. So it's just not going to happen. Good luck with that.
Hello, America. It's me, your history. I remember a time when we thumbed our nose in a king's face, sent him packing. And when fascists and emperors talked a little bit too loud, we showed up, tore their cities to the ground, and then rebuilt them just to prove we could. We put men on the moon, we won a Cold War, and we elected fearless leaders who led fearless people. What the hell happened to you, America? Back in my day, we didn't elect a big-eared community organizer. We punched him in the kidney. Maybe it's time you came home, America. Home where you belong.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
This is Free America broadcasting on the Rod Eccles Show with a message to all patriots trapped behind the lines in California, New York, Boston, and Chicago. Don't give up, true lovers of America. Even as we speak, moves are being made to drive the invaders back to the land from which they came. Defeat the would-be dictators and lift the chains of tyranny from around your neck. Stay strong. Stay brave. You're not forgotten, and you're not alone. Until next time, patriots, this is Free America signing out.
Call Rod now, 603-835-3226. Lines are open.
Welcome back. Hey, did you know that there's something on the rise in men? Yesterday I brought you the story about men are turning their back on the daddy daycare thing, daddy stay at home type of thing, which is a good thing because men are not designed to stay home while the woman goes out and call me a male chauvinist if you want, but the man should be, even if the woman makes more money, the man should be out there earning his keep and providing for his family. Plain and simple. Not sitting at home. I want to be a stay-at-home dad. Give me a freaking break. But here's a story that is kind of a part of this whole millennial-esque feminization of men. Male eating disorders are on the rise, especially in teenagers. Now, I saw a story last summer that addressed this, and it was called Mailorexia in Hollywood. And they were, not necessarily disparaging all of these younger male stars, but none of these, the big stars of last summer, the big star, none of them were really masculine. They were these thin little wafy things. And I'm not talking about their height. Not everybody can be 6'2". I get that. But even if you're 5'7" or 5'9", you say what you want about Tom Cruise. He's a short little elf, but at 5'7", but he's got a physical stature of a man. You look at a lot of these Hollywood underlings today, and they don't have a physical. They look like they're 12. They have the body of a 12-year-old, and they're 25. I know there are some people out there that find that sexy. I mean, it's kind of sick, but yeah, that's true. So male eating disorders are on the rise, especially in teenagers. But experts say that these celebrities are helping to crush the stigma. Because God forbid we actually think that there should be, we actually have a stigma that says, well, there's something wrong with you and it needs to be fixed. Not, oh, it's okay. You have bulimia. It's okay to throw up every time you eat. We'll reduce the stigma. Now, how about we say, no, there's something wrong with you and we need to fix it. So we have this pressure to have a specific male physique has led to the rise of male body disorders. If you want to be whatever happened to the big brute bodybuilder? You can't have bulimia or anorexia or manorexia and be a bodybuilder. You need to eat in order to build muscle. That's what I'm talking about. We're not talking about men because obviously if a guy building muscle, that means he's going to have some toxic masculinity because he's going to need to have testosterone flowing through his veins in order to build all that muscle. We can't have that. So let's just feminize all these guys. So now that they're running around looking like they're 12 when they're 30, there's just no way in hell anybody should at 5'9" should be weighing 120 pounds. And this is getting ridiculous. And frankly, I can't believe I just used Tom Cruise in a positive manner as an example. There's one for the history books.
Have you ever thought to yourself, I'm a leftist elite Hollywood a-hole? If so, good news. The Rod Eccles Hollywood Community College is now open, featuring such courses as unemployment is not paid vacation. No, Americans don't want to spend $19 for an order of French fries, and the ever popular shut the hell up. Why, just listen to this big-time celebrity endorsement.
I'm not Rosie O'Donnell, and I think this school's offensive, sexist, and racist.
And I think you're a giant a-hole who needs to shut the hell up. Hey, we teach a course in that. The Rod Eccles Hollywood Community College, where being an a-hole is not a guarantee you'll be an A student.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please, call or go online right now.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We've got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and always stay in the kitchen when cooking at high temperatures. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
And now, a message from the American Migraine Foundation.
It's an absolute nightmare. I was terrified. It was like your head's gonna explode.
Migraine is a disabling disease.
Just all of a sudden couldn't see.
Migraine has ruined my life.
Absolutely terrifying.
There's pain that does not stop.
It's a throbbing, pulsing, banging, hammering feeling in your head.
36 million Americans suffer.
I started getting migraines around 5 years old.
Just takes over everything.
I feel trapped by migraine.
It hurts like my head's gonna fall off.
And the whole world around you stops.
My world has gotten small. You feel like the world's closing in on you. There's nothing you can do.
I had spent a year housebound.
It's like you're trapped in your head. There's no escaping it. You can't leave your body.
Don't suffer alone. Make your move against migraine. Visit AmericanMigraineFoundation.org to find help, learn more, and get connected.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The human voice. It can be sweet as music, powerful as thunder,
And so, my fellow Americans,
cheerful as laughter. But for millions of people, it can also be a sign of COPD. This serious lung disease can make it so hard to breathe, you often can't catch a breath or finish a sentence, let alone carry a tune. And many who have COPD don't even know it. That's where your voice comes in. If you think you or a loved one have symptoms, talk with a healthcare provider. Early diagnosis can mean better treatments and quality of life. Join us in raising our voices for the millions with COPD who can't. Learn more, breathe better at NIH.gov.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance, in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
To you live on this Friday morning. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to Freedom Friday. Yes, here we are on this Friday, September number 15 in the year of our Lord 2017. As you know, what we do on Fridays is we like to take things a little bit lighter. We'll talk about just about anything that is on your mind as we slide on into the weekend to celebrate some of our increasing freedoms. And we hope that President Trump, continues on this track. 603-835-3226 is the call-in action hotline number. And again, here it is, Friday, September number 15th. The fastest 5 days, the fastest weekend internet broadcast media is right here. Now we're already halfway through September. Getting ready. Well, it's still pretty warm out there today. It's going to be 80s throughout the weekend. A little bit of rain. They keep telling us it's the remnants of Hurricane Irma. Or, we will have brief showers here and there over the next couple of days as the remnants of Hurricane Irma, flow through New England. It's always going to be always got to be something. Somehow we've got to be, everybody's got to be touched by a hurricane, right? The remnants of Hurricane Harvey. Well, it's not a hurricane anymore. But in any case, it is what it is. So we'll probably get a few showers. No thunderstorms. Actually this year we had a lot of thunderstorms rolling through New England. But no thunderstorms are expected this weekend as the remnants of Hurricane Irma blow through. So we'll get a little bit of rain. It's not so bad. We've actually had quite a bit of rain, and a little bit of rain at this time of the year is supposed to be good for leaf peepers, because as the color of the leaves start to change in about, in the northern climes, they'll really start to change in about a week or two. You go up to Coos County, or some people like to call it Coos County, up to Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, which is way the hell. It's to Pittsburgh. It takes about 3 hours to get there from here. You can't get there from here because it takes over 3 hours to get there from here. But the leaves will start to change up there probably the last week of September. And then, of course, it'll just slowly, week by week, progress latitudinally down the line until you get to the end of October when Massachusetts and Connecticut and New York and Pennsylvania are fully engulfed in color. But around here, it's usually sometime around mid-October that we get full, blazing, beautiful color. But by mid-October, of course, you go into Canada and northern New Hampshire and northern Maine, and it's past peak. So if you're planning on visiting to be a leaf peeper, you better make, your reservations now. It's probably nearly impossible to make reservations in many places where you won't have to drive over an hour to get to the leaf peeping spots. These places often get booked out well in advance, and that includes all the alternative, guest booking services like Airbnb. So these are already booked out. So if you want to book out for next year, you're going to have to do that just about now. Yeah, I mean the rain and the heat at this particular point is supposed to be. I think that's the way it's supposed to be good for the brighter colors in the fall. Not too much. If we get too much rain or too much water, I guess the colors get muted and they're terrible. But if you get just enough, if you had a decent, non-dry summer, we did not have a real dry summer. We had a non-dry summer. If you had a decent amount of heat, we didn't have a lot of heat waves, but we had some heat. Had a bunch of days in the 80s. All that is supposed to lead up to good stuff come October, as far as the color of the leaves is concerned. So we'll see. We'll see. It's almost here, believe it or not, leaf peeping time. And it's just a brief period of time. It really sucks because it's, the summer goes out in a blaze of glory. It takes about 5 or 6 weeks, and then it's everywhere. It's all done. It's over. That's it. A whole month. That's it. Just a month. And then you're stuck in November. November, people don't do much in November. I mean, I know we got Thanksgiving, but there isn't much holidayness about November, is there? No, what do we think of Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is really just day to overeat and watch a bunch of football, and take 4 days off while we digest everything that we ate. That's really all. Then we get into Christmas, the Christmas and holiday season for Christmas. That Thanksgiving is kind of overlooked. But anyway. We're starting to get into the holiday season, and a lot of people are now looking at Halloween as the start of the holiday season, not Thanksgiving. So the stores are already full, by the way, with Halloween decorations, Halloween stuff. It used to be at this point that they were starting to put the Christmas stuff out, but Christmas stuff has actually taken a back seat. I mean, they still got some Christmas stuff out in many stores. But it's taken a back seat to Halloween. So Halloween will be big until Halloween, and then Christmas will explode out everywhere. But, yeah, because Halloween is a new Christmas. Well, everybody's looking at this new movie, It, and there's a story here I have in the paper pile. Will these new kind of thriller horror movies be the savior for Hollywood this year? Well, evidently, because it over its opening weekend made almost $120 million. So we'll see. And I've got some friends who are saying, "Hey, let's go see It this weekend." Like, well, I don't have a whole hell of a lot of time, but I suppose we might be able to. A lot of people liked it. I'm not into horror genre because the horror thing. As I've said many times before, I laugh at, I have to hold in my laugh at most of these horror movies that are supposed to be so scary. But as I understand it, this is not so much a horror movie as it is a thriller. Now, I do happen to like thrillers. Thrillers can make you jump, too. Those are good. So, any case, back to the, speaking of Halloween, of course, a bunch of these manorexic men wouldn't be able to eat all that candy on Halloween. And how do we have, well, I can understand, manorexia can lead to people taking certain kinds of drugs, which sort of, emaciate you, like crack and crystal and meth. What are they all called? I don't take those drugs, so I have no idea what they're all called. There's K and Tina. I know that they're the same thing. But I've never tried any of them, and I've never really been around any of that crap, so I don't know all the names that these things are called, the secondary names. But those kind of drugs, they often make people, they often emancipate people. So and this is why we've had such a problem with certain kinds of drugs like that, because people don't want to eat. It's a perfect diet. But over the last 6 years or so, there's been a 70% increase in men seeking help for eating disorders. Societal stigmas make eating disorders a more feminine problem when, in actuality, men are also struggling with body image issues, but it's not really a male issue. Why is it becoming a male issue? Well, because of things like this. When I brought you the story yesterday, places like Duke University, actively recruiting men for their program to fight toxic masculinity. And toxic masculinity, one of the things about toxic masculinity is having too much testosterone. And you have too much testosterone because you're out there at the gym every day, bulking your body up, looking more and more masculine. That's part of masculine toxicity. And what they're trying to tell you is that the good old pajama boy type of male is what the female wants, and that's what gets rid of toxic masculinity. You get the pajama boy type, the guy, the kid who's, he's 6 foot tall and he's 120 pounds and he doesn't have any muscle on him whatsoever. And he speaks with an overly soft voice. There's no masculinity in him. It's been engineered out of him. That's why there's a rise, because you're screwing with the action. That's not what the natural process of maleness is. You want to talk about why there are so many all of a sudden. Why isn't this a problem in other cultures? Why is this a problem mainly in the USA? Well, because even in places like France, where we think that, the men are a little bit more feministic, because they all like to dress better, and they're still men. There's no issue about toxic masculinity. They're still men. There's nothing wrong with being a well-dressed man. In fact, there's nothing, if you want to be a metrosexual man, there's nothing wrong with that either. But there is a problem in this country, in this society, with just being overly male, whether you're a metro male or a bodybuilding male or a guy's guy male. That's all bad. Being a pajama boy, wimpy, mamby-pamby, can't stand up for themselves male, well, that's being a feministic male. That's where it's at now in our culture. Other cultures don't have this problem because they're not trying to turn men into something that they were not meant to be. It's not in their DNA. But we're trying to do that here. So these eating disorders are on the rise. Celebrities like Aaron. Who is Aaron Carter? Was he one of the boy band guys? Right? I don't know. He's like a Justin Timberlake buddy or something. I don't know. Who is Aaron Carter? Eminem evidently had an eating disorder, as well as Dennis. Now, Dennis Quaid is not a millennial. Well, neither is Eminem. How old is Eminem? Eminem is like 40, right? I don't know. I didn't know Dennis Quaid had a eating disorder, a body dysmorphia. Aaron Carter is the younger brother of a boy band? Okay. Which boy band? I try to keep my finger on the pulse of. I hate boy bands. I even make names up for them. No Degrees, Backdoor Boys, and Out of Sync. Those are my favorite boy bands. Yes, out of sync. I know I probably shouldn't say backdoor boys because that has a different connotation for some people, but well deserved as far as I'm concerned. Aren't they back on the? Yeah, they're some of these boy bands. Some of these no talented or low talented boy bands are back on the circuit, right? Yeah, they're back out giving. Which band was Mark Wahlberg's brother Donnie Wahlberg a part of? He's back out there with his buddies, and they're singing the old teeny boppers. I have a problem with 40 middle-aged men, 40-something, almost 50-something years old, is singing these little teeny bopper songs. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't work. It's kind of scary. I mean, you can't be 45 singing bubblegum songs. Bubblegum pop rock. I mean, it doesn't fit. And at some point, you got to kind of grow up. But they don't have enough talent to grow. They're not like Boys to Men. But anyway, yeah. So they're. I'm sorry, folks. I don't know who these people are. Or, who populates these bands. Wasn't there another one called Overtown or O-Town or No? I call them No Town. I don't even remember what their real name is. To tell you the truth. Whatever happened to them? And didn't one of the boy bands have a pretty boy who had a feminine name? And you wonder why these these millennials are having problems, body issue problems, and masculinity problems. Well, their parents are giving them girl names.
You're listening to the Rod Eccles Show, the coolest, most politically incorrect, conservative black man on the planet.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar. Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar. And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
Okay, so I did a quick little search, thank God for the internet, and I was quickly reminded of who Aaron Carter is. Aaron Carter is the younger brother of Backstreet Boy member Nick Carter. Aaron Carter is currently 29 years old, born in 87. And he also was a singer, songwriter, actor. When was he an actor? What has Aaron Carter been in besides? I think he's done a few like Madonna, a couple of Madonna like, movies. Well, not really a movie with biopic type of things. Remember that Madonna did? Isn't that what Aaron Carter did too? I don't ever remember seeing Aaron Carter in anything. Well, he was. I don't. But anyway, that's who he is. He's a. He's an overrated, no talent hack has-been that never really should have been in the first place, I guess. Well, he's probably going to at some point in his 40s. He's probably going to end up with a radio show and be up on all these wonderful TV programs with has-been stars like Danny Bonaducci from the Partridge Family. Anybody remember him? Yeah, good for, hey, if they can, I don't have any problems with it. If they can make money and people are willing to pay for whatever they have to offer, that's fine. I just find it kind of fun. I didn't really remember who the hell he was. But that's who he is. Now I remember. Yes, he's the younger brother of See, I can't even call him by their real name. Backstreet Boy. Backstreet Boys. He's the younger brother of Backstreet Boys member Nick Carter. Nick Carter isn't the gay one, right? That's from the other band. Or is it that band? I don't know. Who's the... Oh, Lance. Where was Lance? Was he in Out of Sync or Backdoor Boys? That'd be kind of funny if he was part of Backdoor Boys, actually. I can't keep... Oh, New Kids in the Block. Weren't they the big ones back in the 80s? Yeah. So, yeah, Nick, yeah. Oh, whatever. Does anybody out there, do they follow these things? Do they follow these bands around? There are older people who try to relive their teenage years by following some of these bands who are now on the comeback circuit, I guess. They had a concert here not too long ago. I think the concert was advertised as having Backstreet Boys, New Kids in the Block, and Boyz II Men. And I thought, well, isn't that kind of odd? Boyz II Men doesn't need those other two. But hey, now I don't know where Backstreet Boys are originally from, but they were put together. But New Kids in the Block, they're New England. They're from that's where Donnie Wahlberg is from. He's from New Kids in the Block, right? He's not from like one of the Backdoor Boys or anything. I have no idea. I probably should take a lesson in who these boy band members are. I get them confused because they're all about the same age anyway. They all sounded alike. I couldn't tell them apart really. The only one that's really separated himself and made a name for himself was Justin Timberlake. Other than that, I think, who are all the others? I don't know. They're all the same to me. I'm sorry. I wasted too much time on these people, but that's just the. They're a part of Americana now. By the way, speaking of Americana, the felon. The handsome felon, Jeremy Meeks, I guess he's gone full on into being a celebrity because now I guess maybe he's, according to some reports, he's leaving his wife for another hottie. Yeah. Oh, this is why you don't want good-looking people to be famous, I guess, right?
Dad, we need to talk.
Can we just enjoy the drive?
If you're not going to listen to me, who will we listen to?
Jeffrey. Marcia Gay Harden? What?
Eyes on the road, Dad.
What are you doing? What are you doing in my back seat? How did you get in here?
You're getting older.
Not that old.
Your brain's changing. It's natural.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Honey, I've got experience with this. Jeffrey, brain health is all about making the most of your brain as you age and helping to reduce some of the risks to your brain.
Really? Now that's interesting.
So, you'll talk to her about this, but not me. Marcia Gay Harden? Where did she go?
Learn what you can do to help keep your brain healthy at brainhealth.gov. She didn't say goodbye. I mean, I would have. Visit brainhealth.gov.
Every day, 70,000 puppies or kittens are born in the U.S. Cute, right? What's not cute is that half of all litters are accidents, which leads to millions killed in shelters each year. Turns out, those little cuties can get pregnant sooner than you think. But here's the good news. You can stop the accident before it happens. When you bring home a pet, get them fixed at 4 months old. Prevent more. Fix at month 4. Visit fixat4.com for more information. Brought to you by Best Friends Animal Society.
There's a threat targeting America. One that's growing fast, but may still be hard to see. Lyme disease. Spread by tiny ticks, often smaller than the head of a pin. This dangerous disease is now more widespread than West Nile, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. And if left untreated, it can lead to arthritis, facial paralysis, and even memory and concentration problems, often called brain fog. As the threat of Lyme disease grows to more than 300,000 projected cases each year, it's time for us to target Lyme disease. That means checking for ticks when you've been outside, even in your own backyard. It means seeing a doctor if you experience the symptoms of Lyme disease, which can include joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fever, fatigue, or sometimes a bullseye-shaped rash. Set your sights on stopping Lyme. Learn how you can target Lyme disease at targetlyme.org.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself.
This is a physical training event!
Promises to one's community.
Healthy people move debris out of their house.
Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late. We stay informed. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, this is Kelsey Grammer. When military service members head into battle, none are expected to face the enemy alone, but many return home and become isolated as they struggle with the visible and invisible wounds of war. It can be difficult knowing how to overcome that challenge and rekindle bonds similar to those formed in the military. Wounded Warrior Project supports these injured veterans through their recoveries by connecting them with fellow warriors and their communities. No one should fight this battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Call Rod now, 666-603-835-3226. Chelsea Manning, actually Bradley Manning. And, you know, I actually had somebody chastise me yesterday about calling him Bradley Manning. Her name is Chelsea. And I had to respond, he was born a him and given the name Bradley. He was in the military as Bradley. He committed treason, basically, as Bradley. He's Bradley Manning in my book. Always will be. Now, maybe sometimes I'll just go off and say Bradley Channing or Bradley Chelsea Manning. But evidently, Harvard has had a second thought. Harvard evidently has canceled Chelsea Manning's fellowship, as it were. We've even had a CIA director has also canceled. But anyway, Harvard withdraws Chelsea Manning's invite after CIA director Mike Pompeo dropped out of a scheduled appearance at the very venerable, hallowed-halled Ivy League institution. So it's withdrawing Bradley Chelsea Manning's invite after the CIA director, Mike Pompeo, has said, "I'm not coming to your school, your Institute of Higher Learning, because you're going to make this convicted criminal, possible traitor, you're going to give them a fellowship." So Harvard has rescinded this. Good for Harvard for shouldn't say good for Harvard for rescinding it, because they never should have offered it in the first place. But at least they came to their senses pretty damn quick. That's a good thing. And I'm sorry, he did. I know some people are saying, well, he served his time. He didn't serve his time. He didn't pay back society for his crime. Now, does he deserve to earn a living so he doesn't have to live off the government teat? Yes. But does that mean that he's given a position of respect and a position of authority, as in a teacher or professor? No. Never should have been offered a fellowship to teach and speak and give lectures at Harvard University. What a crock. Bradley Chelsea Manning should be laboring the next 30 years at a McDonald's, as far as I'm concerned. And this is ridiculous. How bad is this? You join the military. Well, yeah, he's the epitome of this feminized male. You ever see him as Bradley Manning? He was this little slight little thing. I'm surprised he even made it past basic training, to tell you the truth. But Bradley Manning goes ahead and breaks all kinds of trusts in all kinds of laws, including certain espionage laws, borders on treachery, being a traitor, gets convicted of his crimes and is sentenced to 35 years in prison for his crimes. And then a president, upon leaving office, decides, well, I'm going to commute his sentence. So in other words, after, what did he serve, like 5 or 6 years or something? It was not even a third of his sentence. He goes in and commutes and said, no, you've paid your debt to society. He didn't pay jack. Half the time while he was in prison, he was talking about wanting to become a woman. and make no mistake about it, that is the major reason why good old Obama decided to commute his sentence. Oh, well, he's making a change. He's no longer Bradley Manning, so we can't really hold, Chelsea accountable for Bradley's actions, because Chelsea never would have done it. BS, are the same person. But, him wanting to transition to a woman, understand that played a big part of why Obama commuted his sentence. And now, folks, I'm not going to get into this whole thing. I do not believe that Michelle Obama is a tranny. She's not a transgendered woman or male, man, or whatever. She's born. There are too many pictures of her as a kid that she was born a girl. There are women that are masculine. Janet Reno, anybody? Nobody ever said Janet Reno was a guy. To be frank with you, Janet Reno is probably a better candidate for being a transgendered female than Michelle Obama, to tell you the truth. But nobody ever said Janet. I'm sorry, I shouldn't probably go that direction. But in any case, but so Chelsea Manning has had evidently had his fellowship rescinded. I know I'm going to get lots of people trying to tell me, correction, Chelsea, it's not Bradley Manning, it's Chelsea Manning, and he's not a he, she's a she, or he's a she. Like, no, he's a he, I don't care. I don't play this kind of game. You can change your appearance on the outside all you want to. Your DNA and everything else about you still says that you're male. You are the sex that you were born as. You can pretend all you want to on the outside, but we can't change your DNA, at least not yet, and we can't change your inside, at least not yet. He's still a male. So I'm going to continue to call him Bradley Manning and call him a he. And if that's politically incorrect, well, hello? I am politically incorrect. Now, Canada now investigates... is now investigating climate denial. Did anybody hear this? Yeah, Canada's a competition bureau, an arm's length agency funded by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government to the tune of almost 50 million Canadian dollars annually, investigated. That's a lot of money up in Canada. Now remember, there's only 34 million Canadians living up there. $50 million annually and investigated 3 organizations accused of denying mainstream climate science for over a year following a complaint from an environmental group. Now, the Bureau discontinued its 14-month probe in June, citing available evidence, the assessment of the facts in the case, and to ensure the effective allocation of limited resources, according to Josephine Palumbo, Deputy Commissioner of Competition Deceptive Marketing Practices Directorate. But it will reopen its investigation should it receive relevant new information from the public. About what? Because they're denying climate change? I mean, honestly, now our northern brethren, the Canadians, are not. This is something out of Animal Farm in 1984. This is ridiculous. I mean, here's a government agency that is charged with spending nearly $50 million annually in a country that doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of a population, and thus its federal budget is not all that huge. But $50 million. I mean, that's more than $1 million per citizen. It's like $1.5 million per citizen up there. Spent on investigating people who deny mainstream climate science. Science is not based on mainstream. Science is not based on consensus. I mean, how many times have we got to say this? The consensus was about 500 or 600 years ago that the earth was flat. The consensus was that before Copernicus and a few other scientific notables, that there was no such thing as gravity. The consensus was, at one point in time, that there were multiple gods. Well, I guess some people still think there are multiple gods in that, but But since when is science, in fact, based on consensus? It's not. Truth doesn't care about consensus. But here we are. We're going to start investigating people based on mainstream consensus climate science. Even though that we know a lot of that science has been faked, has been fudged. Hell, there's just been all-out lying about some of it. I love how they talk about these climate models. None of these climate models have ever these climate model predictions have ever become accurate and become truth. We're supposed to be no ice in the North Pole by now. Al Gore, anybody? Inconvenient Truth? We retitled it appropriately, Inconvenient or A Convenient Lie. Al Gore called it Inconvenient Truth. We call it, rightfully so, Convenient Lie. So consensus plays no part of science whatsoever, because consensus oftentimes on the major stuff is wrong. I don't know how much how more wrong you can be than to claim that the Earth is flat and then find out that it's not, and claim that there's no such thing as gravity and realize that gravity is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Think about it. The consensus was that that's all no gravity, no such thing. Didn't know about it. Couldn't exist. There was no invisible force like a magnet that could pull you down or attract you and keep you on the planet because the planet was flat. Because otherwise, if it wasn't flat, you'd fall off. If it were round like a ball, you'd fall off. And if you went too far, you'd fall off the edge of the... Where did all the water keep coming from? Now, understand that, they had these pictures of oceans just falling off into nothingness. And where did the water keep coming from? It was just this perpetual flow of water coming from somewhere. I asked that question when I think we learned about some of this stuff about people believing that the Earth was flat in either 4th or 5th grade. And I remember asking Mr. Friedgen was my 5th grade teacher. So that's how I remember, because I asked Mr. Friedgen, he's my 5th grade teacher, where did the water come from? Because, we're looking at this picture and they're showing, about Columbus, because they thought, if Columbus went too far, he was crazy because he was going to fall off the edge of the earth. And they were showing Columbus these pictures and maps of what was at the edge of there were the sea monsters. And if you got past the sea monsters, there was nothing there. And he fell off into this giant abyss or waterfall. And I asked, Mr. Friedgen, where's all the water coming from? He didn't have an answer. I don't think they had an answer back in the day. Shouldn't the oceans be drained of water? Where's the water coming from? But yet and still, we had consensus that the Earth was flat. And so today, even with all the disproven models, climate models, there's still a consensus that man is causing all this climate change. And therefore, if you do not believe in the mainstream consensus, you need to be investigated. And if you're investigated, well, now you got some people claiming that you should go to jail. Yeah, it's consensus. By the way, here's an update on the story I brought you yesterday about the chocolate industry. Chocolate industry drives rainforest disaster in Ivory Coast. Yes, a global demand for chocolate is causing this dirty beans from deforested national parks, and this has become big business, and it's entered the supply chain. So you're eating chocolate is causing the deforestation of national government-owned parks in Ivory Coast. And evidently the Ivory Coast government cannot control the deforestation of its rainforest and then putting up cocoa, people planting cocoa plants. Now, once a large part of this national park in Ivory Coast was once all trees. but they burned them all down to plant cocoa. The ruin of West Africa's rainforest. Now, doesn't the cocoa bean come from a tree? It's a cocoa tree, right? But if you have this thirst for chocolate, you're causing the deforestation of the Ivory Coast because the government of the Ivory Coast has its own national parks, government-owned land, and they can't control it. It's the darndest thing. Death by chocolate.
I'm not Rod Eccles, and I approve this message. A couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said, "I'll bet you're a Nazi." Well, I love America, support the Constitution, and believe in capitalism. So I told him I'm not a Nazi, and I'm not. So what happens? The punk breaks out 2 windows and pepper sprays an elderly woman in the face. You know, there's one thing about long-haired young people nowadays. They're real assholes. Long-haired young people, you suck.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
Warning. Listening to the Rod Eccles Show by the Idiot Left may cause outrage, fear, a need for safety pins and/or spaces. If you experience any of these symptoms or are allergic to truth, tune in and learn something.
I wonder if there are people out there after hearing this story that if they're going to stop eating chocolate. Are you going to stop eating chocolate? I'm not going to stop. Well, I've never been a chocoholic. But are you going to stop eating chocolate? Because they're coming after your chocolate now. The world's chocolate industry, and this is, now let's be fair, this is from The Guardian, and we know what TheGuardian.com is like. The world's chocolate industry is driving deforestation on a devastating scale in West Africa. Like the Ivory Coast. Because the Ivory Coast government's probably doing it. But anyway, cocoa traders who sell to Mars, Nestle, Mondelez, and other big brands buy beans grown illegally inside protected areas within the Ivory Coast, where rainforest cover has been reduced by more than 80% since 1960. Illegal product is mixed with clean, legal beans in the supply chain, meaning that Mars bars, Ferrero Rocher chocolates, and milk bars could all be tainted with dirty cocoa. As much as 40% of the world's cocoa comes from the Ivory Coast. So you could be eating your Nestle chocolate bar, according to The Guardian, could be tainted with dirty cocoa. I can't with these people. Yeah, so you've got dirty. Well, hey, if you're eating chocolate now, you've got rainforest deforestation on your hands. You're guilty of contributing to rainforest deforestation. I'm still trying to figure out how it is that you can get rid of 80% of the Ivory Coast rainforest, and the government can't stop it. The Ivory Coast government can't do anything about it. So they're burning down rainforests in the Ivory Coast, in the National Ivory Coast Park, to plant cocoa, so they can mix these so-called dirty cocoa beans with so-called clean cocoa beans in the supply chain. They're laundering cocoa beans. They're laundering cocoa beans. Well, just like the mafia and all the drug bosses, they launder their money. Well, they're laundering cocoa beans. They're mixing the dirty cocoa beans with clean cocoa beans in order to clean the dirty cocoa beans, and then you end up eating the dirty cocoa beans thinking that they're all clean cocoa beans, but none of them are clean because they're all mixed with dirty beans. It makes them all dirty. But if they're all dirty, that means they're all clean. Isn't that how laundering works? This sort of thing, because you can't separate the good from the bad, so everything is either bad or everything is either good because you can't separate the two. So say, are they going to? We're going to have to start putting inspectors. Okay, that's a clean bean, dirty bean, clean bean, dirt. I can't with these people. I really can't. This is just ridiculous. It's enough to make anyone depressed, right? I mean, hey, they're attacking chocolate now. Attacking chocolate and taking chocolate off the market could possibly, potentially make a lot of people depressed. Well, not so fast. Those on antidepressants, the commonly prescribed drugs, plural, raise the risk of early death by 33%. The drugs do more harm than good, so say some researchers, and their use should be cut. Psychiatrists disputed this and argued that they have been safely used for years. But then some of the psychiatrists do admit that some of their patients have died seemingly early for no apparent reason. The McMaster University in Canada analyzed the impact of nearly 380,000 people who were on antidepressant drugs, and found that, whatever the risk of death early, whatever early death is, was rose by a third, 33%. So don't get depressed. Eat the chocolate. It's probably dirty chocolate. It's probably better than antidepressants.
Today, there's a beer for everyone.
Hey, me and the guys are going out for beer. You want to come along?
Nah, I got a lot of data to enter into the computer tonight.
Now, there's a brew for the future.
Want me to bring you something back?
Thanks, but I got some right here.
Microsoft Brew.
You got a beer tap on your computer?
With a head so thick you can float a mouse on it.
Let me get this straight. You make your own beer with the computer?
With the right software, you can do anything.
Microsoft Brew.
Here, I call this one Windows 95.
I don't know. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
And if you got to get there quicker, try the new ISDN malt liquor.
When I found out I had atrial fibrillation, a serious but highly treatable heart condition, the first thing I thought of was who would take care of my wife and children if anything were to happen to me? My doctor recommended Prevactin. I had a lot of questions, so I did some research. It turns out Prevactin is the #1 recommended drug for Crohn's disease. I think my doctor's trying to kill me and steal my wife.
Doctors. They'll stop at nothing to get your wife.
And now, a message from the American Migraine Foundation.
It's an absolute nightmare. I was terrified. It was like your head's gonna explode.
Migraine is a disabling disease.
Just all of a sudden couldn't see. Migraine has ruined my life. Absolutely terrifying.
There's pain that does not stop.
It's a throbbing, pulsing, banging, hammering feeling in your head.
36 million Americans suffer.
I started getting migraines around 5 years old.
Just takes over everything.
I feel trapped by migraine.
It hurts like my head's gonna fall off.
And the whole world around you stops.
My world has gotten small.
You feel like the world's closing in on you. There's nothing you can do. I had spent a year housebound.
It's like you're trapped in your head. There's no escaping it. You can't leave your body.
Don't suffer alone. Make your move against migraine. Visit AmericanMigraineFoundation.org to find help, learn more, and get connected.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The human voice. It can be sweet as music, powerful as thunder,
And so, my fellow Americans,
cheerful as laughter. But for millions of people, it can also be a sign of COPD. This serious lung disease can make it so hard to breathe, you often can't catch a breath or finish a sentence, let alone carry a tune. And many who have COPD don't even know it. That's where your voice comes in. If you think you or a loved one have symptoms, talk with a healthcare provider. Early diagnosis can mean better treatments and quality of life. Join us in raising our voices for the millions with COPD who can't. Learn more, breathe better at NIH.gov.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever.
Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Number 3 here on this Friday edition. Welcome to Freedom Friday. Yes, it is a Friday, September number 15 in the year of our Lord 2017. And this Friday, as is true with every Friday, we try to take things a little bit lighter on today, and we talk about just about anything under the sun. You can participate by dialing the toll-free Action hotline number of 603-835-3226. And it's getting there. Third hour here already. Fastest 3 hours in Internet Talk Radio. On this September 15th. We will get into today's holidays shortly. Got a couple of good ones today that you'll probably want to celebrate. But first, there is this terror attack that happened out in London. They're calling it the Parsons Green terror attack. Evidently, what we know thus far is that the terrorist or the terror suspect tried to set off a bucket bomb. The suspect identified by cops using closed-circuit television after bucket bomb IED almost exploded, injuring 22. Some of the commuters, and this happened during a commute on the tube, the fleeing commuters left with serious facial burns after a fireball flew down the carriage of a packed train where and I guess they have pictures of this bomb, this so-called bomb. Cops have identified the Parsons Green terror suspect. The homemade bucket bomb device sent a fireball down a carriage as it partially detonated, with a schoolboy and pregnant woman among those injured in the I love how they do. Well, it makes it so much more terrible when a child and a pregnant woman are victims. Forget the fact that just regular human beings, teenagers and adults, well, even if they're not pregnant, they're victims too. But it's so much more worse when a little itty bitty child of 9 or 10 and a Prager's woman is injured too. Now, no, folks, don't get me wrong. It's egregious either way. But it does. We have this. We always go with this emotion crap. This emotion crap gets us in trouble a lot. So now it is more emotionally damaging to the British psyche because a 10-year-old boy and or a pregnant woman was also injured. Why? I'm not trying to lessen the fact that these people were injured. What I'm trying to say is that you have a terrorist who was using basically a Home Depot kind of bucket or a Lowe's bucket. That's the kind of bucket he was using. It's just a regular plastic pail that you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's for $2. I know, because I've bought plenty of them. I don't plan on putting bombs in any of them, but this is talk about getting creative. Putting fire bombs in buckets now and placing them on trains. I mean, this is... And we're more concerned about how old the victims of this bombing attack were. How about just victims, period? Doesn't matter if the youngest was 9 or 10 or if one of them was pregnant or if the oldest was 99. It doesn't really matter. The problem is that this Yahoo, this joker, based on governmental policy, on its immigration policy, has allowed somebody like this into their country who can then just go out and get a plastic bucket or plastic pail, place it on the tube or a commuter rail system, and set it off. That's the important part here. And I love this. And that now they're also getting on Donald Trump, because Donald Trump says, well, hey, the London attacker, another attack in London by a loser terrorist. Oh, that's insightful rhetoric, President Trump. You can't say that. Scotland Yard had the suspect in their sights ahead of time. Oh, this is terrible. We're not going to put up with this. All this intelligence that we're sharing with you, Mr. President, we're going to stop sharing it if you keep telling the world that we know about stuff before it happens and we still let it happen. We're obsessed with the wrong stuff in the West. Now, I'm not saying that world leaders should be, willy-nilly sharing intelligence secrets from other countries. But we're getting upset with the wrong stuff. We're upset because a 10-year-old was injured in this firebombing, but if there was no 10-year-old, we wouldn't be nearly as upset. What kind of nonsense is that? Because that's the way they make it sound. And you can probably say, well, Rod, that's not what they mean. I can honestly tell you, I don't think that's the case. Because they sure as hell make it sound like it's more egregious for injuring a pregnant woman and a 10-year-old boy than just blowing up a bunch of commuters going to work. You kill a kid, that's more egregious. Well, I agree, it's terrible. But what are we doing here? Are we not getting angry at the wrong stuff? Because we're more angry that a 10-year-old was injured, and we're more angry that Donald Trump said that this terrorist was a loser on Twitter. And yet and still, the British government is still allowing these so-called refugees into their country, hand over fist. They're not clamping down on radical Islam within their country. And you've got, Prime Minister May, Mrs. May is every time we turn around is reported she's upset with the president over something. And give me a freaking break. You had 22 people injured. You could, if the bomb had actually gone off like it was designed and supposed to go off, you could have had dozens actually killed, including that 10-year-old and pregnant woman. But you're going to be mad at Trump for calling a spade a spade? I mean, really? This is what we've come down to in the West. The Western world, this is what we've come down to. We've come down to rhetoric only. It's the rhetoric that counts. If you don't have the right rhetoric, then you're a bad, evil person. No, you can't say that people who actually do evil are evil. It's the rhetoric surrounding the evil or after the evil has been done that really counts. This is where we've come to. This is how far left we have gotten. This is how idiotic we have gotten. This is how bad we've gotten. We've come to the point where rhetoric means everything. The actual actions of individuals or groups of people mean very little. Hey, it's bad rhetoric if I were to say, well, the vast majority of terrorism happening in the West is being perpetrated by a bunch of refugees who come from the Middle East. That's terrible to say. It's the truth, but it's terrible to say. The rhetoric that I just spewed is more important than the actual action of these people running around, blowing up and stabbing and shooting and running over everybody. We can say it's a terror attack, but let's not jump to conclusions that it's an Arab or an Islam that hijacked a truck and ran over 50 people. That's not the problem. The problem is your rhetoric, Rod, pointing out that it was an Islamic Arabic that hijacked a vehicle in France and ran over 50 people. You pointed that fact out, just like Trump says he's a loser. That's the problem. That's the bad stuff. I mean, you can't do that anymore, Rod. Don't you know that by now? It's the rhetoric that's important. Did the terrorist run over a 10-year-old boy or a pregnant woman? If he didn't, then it's not so bad. Did we know about the guy beforehand? I mean, was he on our radar? Could we not get to him fast enough to apprehend him before he did this? Maybe he did this is because he was on our radar and he knew about it. But you can't say that, Rod. You can't say that. You can't say that we knew about him. You can't say that we were beginning to watch him and shadow him. You can't say all that. That's terrible rhetoric. The good rhetoric is that, what he did didn't really work. It could have been devastating, but it wasn't. So you can't point out that, maybe some of these people that we're looking at were actually watching. We're watching very closely. They're under surveillance. You can't, because that would be racist probably. Can't be racist about this, Rod. I mean, especially you should be more interested in the fact that Wendy Williams is out there, on the beach with her surgically enhanced chesty boobs out there. That's the kind of rhetoric that you're supposed to be talking about. You're not supposed to be talking about the fact that 22 people were injured and I guess you could talk about 22 people injured because nobody was killed. But don't forget to point out that a 10-year-old was injured. That's the real bad part, Rod. That's the real bad part. Don't point out the fact that this guy was an Islamist, that he was probably a member of a refugee group. And that, he believes in Allah Akbar kind of crapola. Oh, we got another story with that one, too, here. Is it Paris? Paris. Knife man attacks French soldier in Paris. In gay Paris. Is shouting Allah Akbar as he attacks a soldier on patrol in Paris. Attacker lunged at a soldier and tried to stab him at the Châtelet metro station, another commuter rail station. So armed police arrested him around 6:30 a.m. and the victim was not injured. Well, thank God that the soldier was not injured. The police officer was not injured. But he was attempting to perpetrate another attack on a commuter rail line. Look, these, commuter rail lines can be they can be packed with people. I know, I've been on them. I've been on subway systems during commute time here in Boston. I've been on subway systems during a commute time in New York City. I've been on a subway or commute line system during commute time, rush hour time in Paris. They're packed. Tons of people. But yet and still, we're supposed to be worried about the rhetoric that we use to describe this stuff as it happens and after it happens. And the wrong rhetoric, evidently according to the left, is more incendiary and more angering and more hateful and more wrong than the actions themselves.
Yes, love hurts. It can hurt emotionally, but more important, it can also hurt you physically. It can hurt you in a way which nobody who owns a hot tub and lives in California can afford to be unaware of. Yes, I'm talking about California hot tub rectal gonorrhea. This painful, incurable disease can make an enjoyable soak in a hot tub with family, friends, and dog into a literally unforgettable experience. If you catch California hot tub rectal gonorrhea, not only will you walk around feeling like you're about to pass a twisted sardine can lid, you'll also smell like a pile of burning tractor tires. So don't jump out of the frying pan and into the hot tub, because if you get California hot tub rectal gonorrhea, it'll really burn your ass.
This has been a public service message brought to you by the Citizens Against CHTRG Foundation. California hot tub rectal gonorrhea. We're not going to take it sitting down.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
Moving along along fluidly here. Time is flowing fluidly. I mean, just did that. Was that really a full 20-minute segment, or was that like 2 minutes? It just went by like you would not believe. Time flies when you're having fun. And like Rush Limbaugh says, I'm having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have. Now, don't get me wrong. They'll probably try to put a limit or tax your fun. And don't think that they can't, because here in New Hampshire, in some towns, they're capable of assessing on your property what they call a view tax. So if you have a beautiful view on your property, now forget the fact that your property is probably going to be worth more because it does have a beautiful view. And so they're already going to get more in tax money because your property is worth more. They can now assess your property with a view tax in some towns. I kid you. So you got to pay for your view twice. Here in New Hampshire even. So yeah, they can tax your fun, I guess. Any case, today's holidays for September 15th are there's quite a few of them today. Now, I know it's Friday, but it's also the middle of the month, so it's Greenpeace Day. Not that I'll be celebrating that one. I will be celebrating this one, though. It's International Day of Democracy. That's a good one to celebrate, especially today in this country. It's International Dot Day as well. Dots, as in actually like polka dots, that kind of dot. It's also Google.com Day. Didn't we already have a Google Day? How many days in a year is Google going to get? Why do we even have a Google Day? I'm not going to celebrate Google.com Day. Screw Google. I don't use Google anymore. I use DuckDuckGo. Today is Make a Hat Day. This is a day for making hats. Hats can be worn for many different reasons, for religious purposes, non-religious purposes, for protection purposes, from the sun, blah, 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 blah. Make a Hat Day. So today's a day to learn how to make a hat and make a beautiful hat for yourself. It's also National Felt Hat Day, like a fedora. Yes, hats made out of felt. So the hats are in vogue today. It's Make a Hat Day, or go out and buy a felt hat day. So it's National Make a Hat Day and National Felt Hat Day. It's also National Caregivers Day. And to fit in with Friday, it is National Cream de Menthe Day. So go out and get your drink on this evening with drinks made with cream de menthe, because it is National Cream de Menthe Day. It is also it's National Cheese Toast Day. So you should probably have some cheese toast with that cream de menthe drink. But first, before you have the cheese toast, because cheese toast is for breakfast, lunch maybe. Well, maybe for lunch and dinner you should have a cheeseburger, because today is also National Double Cheeseburger Day. And after you have that cheeseburger, you should thank your person for getting you that double cheeseburger, because today is National Hug Your Boss Day. Yeah, you can't do that. Isn't that, like harassment or something? But it's National Hug Your Boss Day. It's also the start of National Hispanic Heritage Month, but it starts on the 15th. That's kind of odd. So it goes through the 15th of September to the 15th of October. National Hispanic Heritage Month Day. But funny enough, it's also a national day for another food that's not Hispanic. It's a Latino or Italian food. National Linguine Day. Today is also National POW MIA Recognition Day. It is National Tackle Kids Cancer Day. It is also National Online Learning Day. You don't have to use Google to do it. It's also National Thank You Day, so make sure you thank somebody on this day. Today, send out a thank you card. It's also National Tradesman Day, because you don't need to go to college to make a good living. And in fact, just the other day I heard about there are places in Indiana you can get a job making up to $45, $50 an hour for making and assembling, being on the assembly line of RVs like Winnebagos, because they can't find people. And RVs are hot right now. They're huge. They're selling them left and right, and they can't make enough to keep up with demand. $45 an hour, straight time, not overtime. You imagine what overtime is? Time and a half and $45, $50, $75 an hour. Today is also Some Day, which is observed on this day every September 15th. There's no information on Some Day, but today is Some Day. You know, whenever you say that you're going to do something someday, well, September 15th is someday. So happy someday to you.
You might be surprised to learn who has Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. Nearly 1 in 200 Americans are suffering with a debilitating pain and constant disruption of these inflammatory bowel diseases, or IBD. Chances are you know someone with IBD. For example, your neighbor or coworker. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation was created to help patients cope and to find a cure. People with IBD can't wait. Won't you help someone you know? Visit www.escapethestall.com today.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. But most people don't know they are infected. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you can still have hepatitis C, a serious liver disease that often has no symptoms. In fact, people can live with hepatitis C for decades without feeling or looking sick. But over time, hepatitis C can cause serious health problems, including liver damage, liver failure, or even liver cancer. Getting tested is the only way to know if you're infected with hepatitis C. That's why the CDC recommends everyone born from 1945 to 1965 get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments are available that can cure this disease. So talk to your doctor about getting tested. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? Shifting to a system based on primary care can help fix the problem. Patients with a primary care doctor live longer, healthier lives and are less likely to suffer from cancer, heart disease, or stroke. Primary care that is comprehensive and coordinated also saves money. Patients who have a primary care doctor spend 30% less on health care than patients who don't. States with a high number of primary care doctors have lower health care costs and higher quality care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
It's been called shell shock, war neurosis, and battle fatigue. Today, we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, and it affects 1 out of every 5 warriors returning from battle in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Wounded Warrior Project offers comfort and support for warriors with PTSD and all other scars of war, whether those scars are visible or hidden. Find out how to help, because for warriors, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Please visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
The Amazon's rainforest is being cut down so fast that by 2030, 55% of it could be completely wiped out. The Earth's forests can't speak up when they need help, but we can. Be the voice for those who have no voice. Visit worldwildlife.org.
There's a threat targeting America. One that's growing fast, but may still be hard to see. Lyme disease. Spread by tiny ticks, often smaller than the head of a pin. This dangerous disease is now more widespread than West Nile, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. And if left untreated, it can lead to arthritis, facial paralysis, and even memory and concentration problems, often called brain fog. As the threat of Lyme disease grows to more than 300,000 projected cases each year, it's time for us to target Lyme disease. That means checking for ticks when you've been outside, even in your own backyard. It means seeing a doctor if you experience the symptoms of Lyme disease, which can include joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fever, fatigue, or sometimes a bullseye-shaped rash. Set your sights on stopping Lyme. Learn how you can target Lyme disease at targetlyme.org.
Dad, we need to talk.
Can we just enjoy the drive?
If you're not going to listen to me, who will we listen to?
Jeffrey. Ah! Marcia Gay Harden, what?
Eyes on the road, Dad.
What are you doing? What are you doing in my back seat? How did you get in here?
You're getting older.
Not that old.
Your brain's changing. It's natural.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Honey, I've got experience with this. Jeffrey, brain health is all about making the most of your brain as you age and helping to reduce some of the risks to your brain.
Really? Now that's interesting.
So, you'll talk to her about this, but not me. Marcia Gay Harden? Where did she go?
Learn what you can do to help keep your brain healthy at brainhealth.gov. She didn't say goodbye? I mean, I would have. Visit brainhealth.gov.
conquistas sociais e os direitos dos brasileiros. Por isso.
Welcome back, 603-835-3226. If you still have some time to get in, if you want to call that number for the, well, let's see, the action hotline number here to the Rod Eccles Show. Excuse me, people are talking about Marcia Gay Harden in the chat room. Speaking of the chat room, if you're listening over there on Spreaker at Spreaker.com, go ahead and click that like button, will you? Do that every time you listen to the program. If you like the program, do that every, that like, that little heart thing, heart button. Just click that button if you like the program. That actually, according to Spreaker's algorithm, that's how they get people to pay more attention to this program over on Spreaker. Their algorithm, it spreads when the show goes live, it spreads information on Spreaker about the show, but if nobody likes it, then it doesn't tell anybody. And they got some crappy shows that they promote over there. I mean, I've listened to some of them on the front page. I've listened to some of that. Even I know that my show is better than some of those crappy shows, but they get a ton of likes. So I guess it's all about that like button. So if you don't mind, hit that button, please, before you exit for the day. It'd be much appreciated. North Korea proves it can hit Guam with fresh missile launch. That's right, Kim Jong-un is out there bragging that he has won a shining victory over America after firing this missile, and it travels more than 2,300 miles, enough to hit U.S. territory, which would be Guam. The test missile landed some 1,240 miles off the island of Hokkaido just before 7 a.m. local time on Friday today. It flew some 2,300 miles, which is far enough to reach the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam. Now, yesterday, of course, North Korea threatened to bomb Japan after the latest round of UN sanctions. In response to the launch, the Japanese government said they will not tolerate more provocation. Well, what are they going to do? The Japanese don't have a real offensive capability, so it's not like they can go in and attack North Korea. See, here's a problem that the United States has. Considering Japan's history, their warrior nation history, we made a huge mistake, but we thought we were doing the right thing. I'm not trying to second guess what we did after World War II. We took into consideration their warrior nation history, and we decided that we were going to force them through their own constitution that they had the right, as part of the unconditional surrender deal, that they were only going to have defensive capabilities for their military. What we should have done is said, well, after a certain period of time, you could go back to offensive, because having Japan as an offensive weapon would definitely put North Korea in check. Do you not think so? The warrior nation history of the island nation of Japan is very powerful. And if we were just giving them the opportunity just to not only defend themselves, but really defend themselves and have offensive capabilities, we could have limited how through their constitution, how they utilize that offensive capability. But this would be a perfect time. Send the South Koreans and the Japanese after the North Koreans. it became, even China would have a difficulty with an offensive capability Japan. They always have. But instead, we have wimpified Japan, and we forced them to be wimpified. And now North Koreans are launching these missiles, and you know what Japan's goal is? What its new mission is to get some 127 million people to hide, and hide fast. And kind of like the whole, remember, well, most of us don't remember because we weren't alive back in the day, but going through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, if you went to a public school, we had something called duck and cover practice. If you grew up on a military base, you had double the amount of air raid drills that you had in civilian public schools. Just wasn't ducking. I remember that we used to have drills, fire drills. You have fire drills. And you would go, fire drills were you would have to escape the building as quickly as possible. Quickly and safely as possible. Then we had would you believe we had terrorist bomb drills back in the day? Yes, the terrorist bomb drills were duck and cover. You duck, you got under your desk and you covered duck and cover. But did you know we also had nuclear drills? If you were on a military base and went to a military base school, grade school, this is what we did. Now, the buildings were designed in such a way is that the hallways were always central. And these buildings were all made out of, cinder block. Government's favorite building material on military bases back then was just cinder block. The entire the outside walls, the interior walls, everything was made of cinder blocks. And he had heavy wooden oak doors. And every school, at least the ones that I went to, the central hallway was rather wide, but it was, even for an elementary school, was lined with metal lockers. Now, you're in 4th and 5th grade. You don't use a locker. But we had lockers. About the only time we ever used a locker was putting our winter coats, but most of the time there was an area or closet area within the classroom where you put your coat. So we didn't use lockers, but every school I went to that was on a military base had lockers in the hall. So during these nuclear drills, the entire class, all the classes would be escorted out into the hall. You would kneel on the floor, put your head down on the floor towards the locker and basically your butts were sticking up in the air, your asses were in the air, but you duck and cover that way. Now, frankly, if you're a nuclear base and you're going to be targeted, that's not going to save you. You're still going to be eviscerated. And so the point I'm bringing this up is because this is what we did back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And then we realized, well, this is just dumbass, stupid crap. You're not going to save yourself by doing that. So this whole notion of Japan needing to get almost its entire population to be able to hide and hide fast is not going to save them. They're not going to have because they're right there with North Korea. They don't have a whole hell of a lot of warning to get 127 million people to hide. You got to stop this nut job now. And the reason why he's able to scare the hell out of the Japanese is because the Japanese can't do much about it. They don't have any offensive capabilities in their military. They really don't. And they don't because we still insist that their constitution dictate that their defensive systems be defense only. Their military be defensive systems only. When hell, man, all we should do within limitations is unleash the warrior nation within Japan and let them take care of everything over there in Asia. I mean, for centuries, Japan pretty much ruled Asia. So what the hell are we doing hamstringing him? I'm just saying. There are plenty of people who are out there thinking, Rod, you can't have an armed Japan. We can't have an imperialistic Japan. Why not? Because what do we get instead? We get an imperialistic, communist China and an imperialistic, dictatorial, crazy North Korea. maybe an imperialistic Japan isn't so bad, especially if they're on our side. Yes? Can we think about that for a minute? Can we think about actually helping the Japanese change their constitution where they can be a little bit more participatory in their area of the globe's defense? Could we think about that for I don't. Yeah. Well, Rod, you're talking about completely changing, foreign policy. Well, yeah, are we keeping foreign policy because it's been tradition? Is that our problem? We're so stuck in tradition mode that we got even foreign policy. Well, traditional foreign policy says this, that we're stuck in traditional foreign policy. Well, things have changed. The world is, the landscape of the planet has changed. No, people are still people. We still have evil people, but the landscape of where these evil people are has changed. So therefore, if you're thinking that the Germans were still the evil people because of World War II, and that's your foreign policy, and which means you now ignore pretty much, Iran and North Korea. Well, that's pretty dumb. It's time for, and if you're only doing it because, well, hey, traditionally speaking, Rod, now that's the way foreign policy works. Well, screw that. It's time to change foreign policy. It's time to address the real threat, and the real threat is not Japan.
Well, Rod, if we do that, we're only going to be replacing one threat with another threat, and Japan would at some point become a threat.
Well, I think at this juncture, we'd probably be able to handle Japan better than we can China and North Korea. I'm just saying. This whole notion that we're not changing our foreign policy to meet the demands of evil in the world is ridiculous. This is 2017, not 1947. The landscape has changed. I thought you said, Rod, that people never change. No, people don't change, but the landscape of where they are does change. If you're out there trying to combat evil and keep the world peace, well, you can't focus on places and countries that are no longer a threat. Japan is not a threat. Germany, for all intents and purposes, is not a threat. But we're treating them still as if they are, instead of identifying the new threats and going after the new threats, which are Iran, North Korea, China, to some degree still Russia. But there is no Soviet Union. So, having this hope, well, we're going to have a policy that takes the Soviet Union into consideration, Rod. Well, that's dumb. They're not the threat anymore. Let's face it. If you were to allow Japan to all of a sudden have an offensive military, they have a lot of catching up to do. First of all, they really, really do. And I'm not because of their current taxation situation and economy. They may not. It may take them a long time to get up to speed as far as having a modern offensive capability. I realize that, but at some point we've got to let them. We've got to unleash the tiger. At some point we've got to allow them to start doing it, because otherwise we're going to be trapped protecting their ass forever. Being their offensive capability forever. We can't do that. They've got to be in a position to be able to start to do it themselves. Because if we did it at a proper time, which was probably we should have let them loose probably 30 or 40 years ago, they would be that much farther ahead, and they'd probably be able to handle North Korea on their own. But they can't do that now. So who's got to do it for them? We do. Just saying. Just saying. I mean, just unbelievable. What we're having to deal with at the moment. And, I thank you, Chris. I guess I didn't hit the mute button fast enough. I tried. Because professionally you're not supposed to, cough or sneeze on the air. And so, excuse me. It happens sometimes, folks. It really does. But anyway, thanks for listening anyway. We'll be right back.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
Here we go with going to the middle of the country and them out there in, I think it's Tennessee. Yeah, you won't believe what's happening out in Tennessee. There is a little city in Tennessee called Portland, Tennessee. Portland, Tennessee has passed a city ordinance, evidently, banning drag shows. Banning drag shows. And there is a rally or a protest that is planned in response to the city fathers banning. This is from the Tennessean, Tennessean.com. A rally is planned in the small city of Portland, Tennessee next week to support a local drag show group after that city's move to shut them down. The city of Portland, Tennessee, just off Interstate 65 at the Kentucky state line, passed the first reading of an ordinance amendment on adult-orientated businesses that would essentially prohibit Elite Drag Star Productions from holding drag shows. One of Elite's owners, Kyle Guillermo, said that the ordinance is a response to a drag show that the company put on for the first time back on August 12th at the Envy Bar and Restaurant on Main Street in Portland, Tennessee. Shortly after that, we received hate mail on Facebook. People are trying to get us out of Portland. He said, but the ordinance is ridiculous. He says, that's not what we do. We're not an adult cabaret. We're drag queens. We're not taking our clothes off. We're not a cabaret. Indeed, drag queens put a lot of clothing on. They don't take. They don't take. So Portland, Tennessee, because they don't like drag shows, I guess, are trying to say that drag queens are the akin to a cabaret or a striptease act. Yeah. I'm not sure I'd go along with it. You can't. How do you ban drag shows? I'm just asking the question. I wouldn't even go. I wouldn't. I'm not a drag show. I don't like men in drag. I don't like drag. I don't like this whole notion of. Now I know Milton Berle was probably one of the first and most famous drag queens, but he wasn't a drag queen actually. He dressed in drag. But Milton Berle, as everybody probably knows and understands Milton Berle, he was straight. I don't know if he wasn't straight or not. It's irrelevant, but everybody thought he was. But I guess that matters now. We're going to have drag queens are being construed and considered as being burlesque or striptease or what have you. In Tennessee, at least. So, yeah, I'm going to go to a drag queen burlesque show. Can you see? I can just see it now. A Radio City Music Hall having a drag queen burlesque line, a dance line full of a bunch of drag queens kicking their legs up. Speaking of New York, Manhattan DA won't prosecute most turnstile jumpers anymore. I'm not kidding you. Evidently, turnstile jumpers used to get prosecuted for doing such a thing in Manhattan, but jumping the turnstile could get you deported, according to Manhattan District Attorney, if they stuck to their guns on this. It could put you at risk, he says, and that's one reason he's going to stop prosecuting fare beaters. So, in other words, if you were a legal or illegal immigrant and you broke the law by jumping the turnstiles, not paying the fare, it could put you at risk for being deported. And that is the main reason that the Manhattan DA's office is going to stop prosecuting fare jumpers or fare beaters. Police arrested nearly 10,000 people in Manhattan in 2016 for jumping the turnstile or failing to pay their subway fare, officially called theft of service. In fact, it was the most common charge in Manhattan criminal court. Well, that earned the city probably a lot of fine money that they're not going to be making anymore, right? Because, hey, now, of course, if you're caught, then it's probably you could go, be deported. And we can't deport people, can we? Jump the turnstile, get deported. Well, not in New York City anymore. Because not at least in Manhattan, because they're not going to prosecute you. They'll just give you a little slap in the wrist and say, now, you go ahead and you pay that tax next time, okay? So we don't deport your ass. Any case, we're out of time, not only for today, but for the week. So go out there and have a fun-filled, freedom-filled weekend, will ya? Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you here on Monday. I'm Rod Eccles. I'm out.
Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. A shameless politician always plays her cards right. Got a crew for the fight on the airwaves. Lapdogs in the press keep their mouths tight. Cause a Clinton never needs to explain why it is what they done or with who. A real Clinton knows that they're entitled. And you don't get to know what they do.
What difference does it make?
For Clinton, what's loaded in some fat Apple file? A Clinton plays the victim for promotion. A Clinton kills it off with a smile. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. A server full of secrets ain't no thing. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. Nothing ever hits with the sting.